afternoon, everybody. The Chattering Magpie is here after a 1-week break. The gang and I are here together to read some more of the Count of Monte Cristo. Hello, gang. How are you doing? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, we're ganging.
Yeah. We are so ready. The enthusiasm is up, and we have all kinds of things to talk about. We were catching up a little bit before going live, so sorry about the little slight delay. I was so caught up in setting up and talking that I forgot to get my water and my chopstick. So I'm ready though. I hope you all are ready as well for this delightful reading of the Count of Monte Cristo, you guys. And with us, of course, is the gang. We're short one person. Patrick, unfortunately, is traveling at the moment, so it's kind of, I imagine, hard to join a live and read with the gang while you're on a plane. So yeah, you're excused, Patrick, but we will miss you. Hopefully you can join us next time, or at least on our Sunday morning watch party. But
come back to us.
Yeah, come back safely to us. But we do have a nice little surprise here. Ye had given us a little bit of a scare earlier, said that he wasn't going to be here. But hey, Ye, how are you?
I am fine.
Lovely.
Somehow.
Lovely. Thank you for wrangling the cats and doing all that work, you guys. There's so many people in this live. They're so helpful.
Hey, Patrick's able to listen.
Oh, Patrick is
yay.
here! Yay! But so many people on this read along, so helpful, so lovely. I am the luckiest person ever. We got our official blesser here, Fuji, and we got our intellectual extraordinaire, Teal, who reads things and stayed up all night to do things, like culturing her mind. Yeah.
And getting PNGs.
And of course, we have our official hype girl and cheerleader, Yuki Hime, here. Hello, Yuki. Who, never lets her spirits flag unless Schlafdrum is dragging her to his domain. So happy to see you.
Yeah, I am so upset. I woke up on Monday so upset that Sunday I was getting ready to be okay, we're watching anime, let's go. I can't wait. And then suddenly it was Monday morning and I was like, what? What happened? Magpie, why did it? I was about to message you being why did you call me up? Just wake me up. I will put my phone on loud.
Look, I have a strict policy, you guys. If you're not gonna show up, I usually take it as 1, they don't want to be there, or 2, they don't like me anymore. So I never message people. Really, I never message people out of sheer I don't want to know the truth. I'd rather just be aloof and let people live and let live than to have the confirmation that people don't like me anymore. So suffice it to say, you guys, Taman and I have a lot in common. Okay.
You know what? Very real with you, Magpie. I have the same mental illness.
Yeah. You know what? I think a lot of us introverts have that same thing. We overthink things. And yeah.
Yeah, but you've got me to tell you very clearly here to your faces. If I'm not here, I'm either asleep or
you don't like me.
What did I... or I don't like someone else and I don't want to complain here. So I've done this before where I was too upset to come here because I didn't want to bring negativity. I'm only bringing positivity to the table. Let's go.
Awesome. Yes, that's what we want around here. We are your island of positivity in your life. Yes,
exactly.
Indeed.
Thank you. I really need it. You don't know it.
Right. Now, Patrick, get in on the game and get the memo. We're positive. How dare you call me out in the chat about being late again? Patrick. Look, Fuji follows up, says Friday needs to be changed to late day. Now, Fuji,
Yes, Magpie.
don't let the Chaos Gang drag you into their schemes. Just saying, Fuji. Just kidding. Look at that. Yes, indeed. All right, lovelies. So today we are going to be reading chapter 51 of The Count of Monte Cristo. We are not speeding along. You know what's speeding along? The anime. Like, I think the anime is doing such a good job, I think, of like just showing the story and all this character beats. And I'm like, is the book gonna be like this? So I'm excited, you guys, because we're really far ahead in the anime compared to the book, and things are going down, you guys. Things are going down, and we're not even halfway through the anime, so woo, excited. All right. Let's see. I feel like Magpie's B side isn't much different than her A side. I think it's different. For sure. We all have that B-side, but yeah, I tend to be like kinda really not myself when I'm on my B-side. All right, so what's up?
Do you have time to give a blessing at all before we read?
Oh yes, by all means. Let us get started with that. Let's do a blessing, and then we will have Ye introduce the reading with a summary of last time's reading. So go ahead, please.
May I pray for a blessing and appreciation of the servant of this meeting, ordained by the snowy depths of Schlafdrum, the god of dreams?
You may.
O Schlafdrum, please bless Teal and Yukihime, as they need good dreams and sleep.
Thank you for that blessing.
you.
I feel kind of like blasphemous. I don't want to say it, but like, what can one say after a blessing?
Yay.
Like, I'm not gonna say amen. I will not. But like, we can just say like, yo, or like, hey, or like, yo, fist in the air. What does one do? Just say.
A woman.
What's that to you?
I contemplated being like Ferdinand or Rosamund, being like, curse you, and then pretending to fall asleep.
I'm good with that.
Fool. See. Okay, so anytime we have a Schlafdrum blessing, we will be calling Fuji. We're basically cursing at Fuji, or whoever says the Schlafdrum's blessing. Okay, so all right, got it. Now let us get started. Yay, would you be so kind as to fill us in with what happened in the last read along, please?
Of course. All right. Last time on the Count of Monte Cristo, the Count met with his mysterious slave-turned-free woman, Haydee. The Count tried to encourage her to spend time in Paris exploring high society, but she wanted to spend time with the Count, whom she claims to love as dearly as her father, though in a much different way. The Count insisted that it was only because he was the only other man in her life, but Haydee refused such a simple explanation. From there, the Count visited the house of Morrel, the family of his former employee whom he helped. There, they extolled the virtues of a mysterious man who saved their family. The Count, being this man and having sworn off all positive feelings until his revenge was complete, tried to deflect this discussion onto his alter ego due to embarrassment, almost failing to keep his cover. During this, we learned how the family fared well since his help, and learned that, to his dying breath, Monsieur Morrel believed correctly it was Edmund Dantes who saved his family. Will his disguise continue to fail? Will Haydee find other companionship? Perhaps we'll find out, this time, on the Count of Monte Cristo.
Bravo, bravo. Thank you so much. Yay.
Those are great every week.
Yeah.
Why, thank you.
All right. So, how about we get started? Today, reading chapter 51 are the following fine folks. First of all, narrator will be me. Maximilian Morrel will be read by Ye. Valentine de Villefort is Fuji. And a voice from behind the trees is Yukihime. Today's highlighting MVPs are Teal and Yukihime. Thank you all for being such lovely sports. Let us get started with the Count of Monte Cristo. Channeling my inner EA, so hopefully I made you proud.
Thank you.
All right. Let's do this, everybody. Chapter 51. Ooh, I should have looked this up. How do you say this? Oh well. Pyramus and Thisbe. About 2/3 of the way along the Faubourg Saint-Honoré, and in the rear of one of the most imposing mansions in this rich neighborhood, where the various houses vie with each other for elegance of design and magnificence of construction, extended a large garden, where the wide spreading chestnut trees raised their heads high above the walls in a solid rampart, and with the coming of every spring scattered a shower of delicate pink and white blossoms unto the large stone vases that stood upon the 2 square pilasters of a curiously wrought iron gate that dated from the time of Louis XIII. This noble entrance, however, in spite of its striking appearance and the graceful effect of the geraniums planted in the 2 vases, as they waved their variegated leaves in the wind, and charmed the eye with their scarlet bloom, had fallen into utter disuse. The proprietors of the mansion had many years before thought it best to confine themselves to the possession of the house itself, with its thickly planted courtyard, opening into the Faubourg Saint-Honoré, and to the garden shut in by this gate, which formerly communicated with a fine kitchen garden of about an acre. For the demon of speculation drew a line, or in other words, projected a street at the farther side of the kitchen garden. The street was laid out, a name was chosen and posted up on an iron plate. But before construction was begun, it occurred to the possessor of the property that a handsome sum might be obtained for the ground then devoted to fruits and vegetables by building along the line of the proposed street, and so making it a branch of communication with the Faubourg Saint-Honoré itself, one of the most important thoroughfares in the city of Paris. In matters of speculation, however, though man proposes, yet money disposes. From some such difficulty, the newly named street died almost in birth, and the purchaser of the kitchen garden, having paid a high price for it, and being quite unable to find anyone willing to take his bargain off his hands without a considerable loss, yet still clinging to the belief that at some future day he should obtain a sum for it that would repay him, not only for his past outlay, but also the interest upon the capital locked up in his new acquisition, contented himself with letting the ground temporarily to some market gardeners at a yearly rental of 500 francs. And so, as we have said, the iron gate leading into the kitchen garden had been closed up and left to the rust, which bade fair before long to eat off its hinges, while to prevent the ignoble glances of the diggers and delvers of the ground from presuming to sully the aristocratic enclosure belonging to the mansion, the gate had been boarded up to a height of 6 feet. True, the planks were not so closely adjusted but that a hasty peep might be obtained through their interstices. But the strict decorum and rigid propriety of the inhabitants of the house left no grounds for apprehending that advantage would be taken of that circumstance. Horticulture seemed, however, to have been abandoned in the deserted kitchen garden, and where cabbages, carrots, radishes, peas, and melons had once flourished, a scanty crop of lucerne above bore evidence of its being deemed worthy of cultivation. A small, low door gave egress from the walled space we have been describing into the projected street, the ground having been abandoned as unproductive by its various renters, and had now fallen so completely in general estimation as to return not even the 0.5% it had originally paid. Toward the house, the chestnut trees we have before mentioned rose high above the wall, without in any way affecting the growth of other luxuriant shrubs and flowers that eagerly dressed forward to fill up the vacant spaces, as though asserting their right to enjoy the boon of light and air. At one corner, where the foliage became so thick as almost to shut out day, a large stone bench and sundry rustic seats indicated that this sheltered spot was either in general favor or particular use by some inhabitant of the house, which was faintly discernible through the dense mass of verdure that partially concealed it, though situated but 100 paces off. Whoever had selected this retired portion of the grounds as the boundary of a walk, or as a place for meditation, was abundantly justified in the choice by the absence of all glare, by the cool, refreshing shade, the screen it afforded from the scorching rays of the sun, that found no entrance there, even during the burning days of hottest summer, the incessant and melodious warbling of birds, and the entire removal from either the noise of the street or the bustle of the mansion. On the evening of one of the warmest days spring had yet bestowed on the inhabitants of Paris, might be seen, negligently thrown upon the stone bench, a book, a parasol, and a work-basket, from which hung a partly embroidered cambric handkerchief, while at a little distance from these articles was a young woman, standing close to the iron gate, endeavoring to discern something on the other side by means of the openings in the planks. The earnestness of her attitude and the fixed gaze with which she seemed to seek the object of her wishes, proving how much her feelings were interested in the matter. At that instant, the little side gate leading from the waste ground to the street was noiselessly opened, and a tall, powerful young man appeared. He was dressed in a common grey blouse and velvet cap, but his carefully arranged hair, beard, and moustache, all of the richest and glossiest black, ill accorded with his plebeian attire. After having cast a rapid glance around him, in order to assure himself that he was unobserved, he entered by the small gate, and carefully, after closing and securing it after him, proceeded with a hurried step toward the barrier. At the sight of him, she expected, though probably not in such a costume. The young woman started in horror, and was about to make a hasty retreat. But the eye of love had already seen, even through the narrow chinks of the wooden palisades, the movement of the white robe, and observed the fluttering of the blue sash. Pressing his lips close to the planks, he exclaimed,
"Do not be alarmed, Valentine. It is I."
Again the timid girl found courage to return to the gate, saying as she did so,
"Why do you come so late today? It is almost dinner time, and I had to use no little diplomacy to get rid of my watchful stepmother, my too devoted maid, and my troublesome brother, who is always teasing me about coming to work at my embroidery, which I am in a fair way never to get done. So pray excuse yourself as well as you can for having made me wait, and after that, tell me why I see you in a dress so singular that at first I did not recognize you."
Dearest Valentine, the difference between our respective stations makes me fear to offend you by speaking my love, but yet I cannot find myself in your presence without longing to pour forth my soul, and tell you fondly how fondly I adore you. If it be but to carry away with me the recollection of such sweet moments, I could even thank you for chiding me, for it leaves me with a gleam of hope that if you did not expect me, and that indeed would be worse than vanity to suppose, at least I was in your thoughts. You asked me the cause of my being late, and why I come disguised. I will candidly explain the reason of both, and I trust to your goodness to pardon me. I have chosen a trade.
"A trade? Oh, Maximilian, how can you jest at such a time when we have a deep cause for uneasiness?"
Heavens keep me from jesting with that which is far dearer to me than life itself. But listen to me, Valentine, and I will tell you all about it. I became weary of ranging fields and scaling walls, and seriously alarmed at the idea of suggesting to you that, if caught hovering about here, your father would very likely have me sent to prison as a thief. That would compromise the honor of the French army, to say nothing of the fact that continual presence of a captain of the spies in a place where no warlike projections could be supposed to account for, it might well create surprise. So I have become a gardener, and consequently adopted this costume of my calling.
Excessive nonsense you talk, Maximilian.
Nonsense! Pray do not call what I consider the wisest action of my life by such a name. Consider, by becoming a gardener, I effectually screen our meetings from all suspicion or danger.
I beseech of you, Maximilian, to cease trifling and tell me what you really mean.
Simply that, having ascertained that the piece of ground on which I stand was to let, I made application for it, was readily accepted by the proprietor, and am now master of this fine crop of lucerne. Take of that, Valentine. There is nothing now to prevent my building myself a little hut on my plantation, and residing not 20 yards from you. Only imagine what happiness that would afford me. I can scarcely contain myself at the bare idea. Such felicity seems above all price, as a thing impossible and unattainable. But would you believe that I purchased all this delight, joy, and happiness, for which I would cheerfully have surrendered 10 years of my life at the cost of 500 francs per annum, paid quarterly? Henceforth we have nothing to fear. I am on my own ground, and have an undoubted right to place a ladder against this wall, and to look over when I please, without having any apprehensions of being taken off by the police as a suspicious character. I may also enjoy the precious privilege of assuring you of my fond, faithful, and unalterable affection whenever you visit your favorite bower, unless, indeed, it offends your pride to listen to professions of love from the lips of a poor working man clad in a blouse and cap.
A faint cry of mingled pleasure and surprise escaped the lips of Valentine, who almost instantly said, in a saddened tone, as though some envious cloud darkened the joy which illumined her heart.
Alas, no, Maximilian, this must not be for many reasons. We should presume too much on our own strength, and, like others, perhaps, be led astray by our blind confidence in each other's prudence.
How can you for an instant entertain such unworthy a thought, dear Valentine? Have I not, from the first blessed hour of our acquaintance, schooled all my words and actions to your sentiments and ideas? And you have, I am sure, the fullest confidence in my honor. When you spoke of me of experiencing a vague and indefinite sense of coming danger, I placed myself blindly and devoted at your service, asking no other reward than the pleasure of being useful to you, and have I ever since, by word or look, given you cause of regret for having selected me from the numbers that would willingly have sacrificed their lives for you. You told me, my dear Valentine, that you were engaged to Monsieur de Epinay, and that your father was resolved upon completing the match, and that from his will there was no appeal, as Monsieur de Villefort was never known to change a determination once formed. I kept in the background as you wished, and waited, not for the decision of your heart or my own, but hoping that Providence would graciously interpose on our behalf, and order events in our favor. But what cared I for delays or difficulties, Valentine, as long as you confessed that you loved me and took pity on me? If you will not repeat that avowal now and then, I can endure anything.
Ah, Maximilian, that is the very thing that makes you so bold, and which renders me at once so happy and unhappy. I frequently ask myself whether it is better for me to endure the harshness of my stepmother and her blind preference for her own child, or to be, as I am now, insensitive to any pleasure save such as I find in these meetings, so fraught with danger to both.
I will not admit that word. It is at once cruel and unjust. Is it possible to find a more submissive slave than myself? You have permitted me to converse with you from time to time, Valentine, but forbidden me by ever following you in your walks or elsewhere. Have I not obeyed? And since I found means to enter this enclosure, to exchange a few words with you through this gate, to be close to you without really seeing you, have I ever asked so much as to touch the hem of your gown, or tried to pass this barrier with but a trifle of one of my youth and strength? Never has a compliment or a murmur escaped me. A complaint or a murmur escaped me. I have been bound by my promise as rigidly as any knight of olden times. Come, come, dearest Valentine, confess that what I say is true, lest I be tempted to call you unjust.
It is true.
said Valentine, as she passed the end of her slender fingers through a small opening in the planks, and permitted Maximilian to press his lips to them.
You are a true and faithful friend, but still, you acted from motives of self-interest, my dear Maximilian. We well knew that from the moment in which you had manifested an opposite spirit, all would have ended between us. You promised to bestow upon me the friendly affections of a brother. I have no friend but yourself on earth, who am neglected and forgotten by my father, harassed and persecuted by my stepmother, left to the sole companionship of a paralyzed and speechless old man, whose withered hand can no longer press mine, and who can speak to me with the eye alone, although there still lingers in his heart the warmest tenderness for his poor grandchild. Oh, how bitter a fate is mine, to serve either as a victim or an enemy to all who are stronger than myself, while my only friend and supporter is a living corpse! Indeed, indeed, Maximilian, I am very miserable. If you love me, it must be out of pity.
Valentine, I will not say you are all I love in the world, for I prize dearly my sister and my brother-in-law, but my affection for them is calm and tranquil, in no manner resembling what I feel for you. When I think of you, my heart beats fast, the blood burns in my veins, and I can hardly breathe. But I solemnly promise you to restrain all this ardor, this fervor and intensity of feeling, until you yourself shall require me to render them available in serving or assisting you. Monsieur Franz is not expected to return home for a year to come, I am told. In that time, many favorable and unforeseen chances may befriend us. Let us then hope for the best. Hope is so sweet a comforter. Meanwhile, Valentine, while reproaching me with selfishness, think a little what you have been to me, the beautiful but cold resemblance of a marble Venus. What promise of future reward have you made me for all the submission and obedience I have advised? None whatsoever. What granted me? Scarcely more. You tell me of Monsieur Franz d'Epinay, your betrothed lover, and you shrink from the idea of being his wife. But tell me, Valentine, is there no other sorrow in your heart? You see me devoted to you, body and soul, my life, and each warm drop that circles around my heart are consecrated to your service. You know full well that my existence is bound up in yours, that were I to lose you, I would not outlive the hour of such crushing misery. Yet you speak with the calmness of the prospect of your being the wife of another. Oh, Valentine, were I in your place, and did I feel conscious, as you do, of being worshipped, adored, and with such a love as mine, 100 times at least should I have passed my hand between these iron bars and said, "Take this hand, dearest Maximilian. Believe that, living or dead, I am yours only and forever."
The poor girl made no reply, but her lover could plainly hear her sobs and tears. A rapid change took place in the young man's feelings.
Dearest Valentine, forgive me, I have offended you, and forgot the words I spoke, if they have unwittingly caused you pain.
Oh, Maximilian, I'm not offended, but do you not see what a poor, helpless being I am? Almost a stranger and an outcast in my father's house, where even he is seldom seen, whose will has been thwarted and spirits broken from the age of 10 years, beneath the iron rod so sternly held over me, oppressed, mortified, and persecuted. Day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, no person is cared for, even observed my sufferings, nor have I ever breathed one word on the subject save to yourself. While outwardly and in the eyes of the world I am surrounded by kindness and affection, but the reverse is the case. The general remark is, "Oh, it cannot be expected that one of so stern a character as Monsieur Villefort could lavish the tenderness some fathers do on their daughters." Like though she has lost her own mother at a tender age, she has had the happiness to find a second number in Madame de Villefort. The world, however, is mistaken. My father abandons me from utter indifference, while my stepmother detests me with a hatred so much the more terrible because it is veiled beneath a continual smile.
Hate you, sweet Valentine. How is it possible for anyone to do that?
Alas, I am obliged to own that my stepmother's aversion to me arises from a very natural source, her overweening love for her own child, my brother Edward.
But why should it?
I do not know, but though unwilling to introduce money matters into our present conversation, I will just say this much. Her extreme dislike to me has its origin there, and I much fear she envies me the fortune I enjoy in right of my mother, and which will be more than double the death of Monsieur and Madame Saint Morrel, whose sole heiress I am. Madame de Villefort has nothing of her own, and hates me for being so richly endowed. Alas, how gladly would I exchange the half of this wealth for the happiness of at least sharing my father's love. God knows I would prefer sacrifice.
Poor Valentine.
I seem to myself as though living the life of bondage, yet at the same time am so conscious of my own weakness that I fear to break the restraint in which I am held, lest I fall utterly helpless. Then, too, my father is not a person whose orders may be infringed with impunity. Protected as he is by his high position and firmly established reputation for talent and unswerving integrity, no one could oppose him. He is all-powerful even with the king. He would crush you at a word. Dear Maximilian, believe me when I assure you that if I don't attempt to assist my father's command, Dear Maximilian, believe me when I assure you that if I do not attempt to resist my father's commands, it is more on your account than my own.
But why, Valentine, do you persist in anticipating the worst? Why picture so gloomy a future?
Because I judge it from the past.
Still, consider that although I may not be, strictly speaking, what is termed an illustrious match for you, I am, for many reasons, not altogether so much beneath your alliance. The days when such distinctions were so nicely weighed and considered no longer exist in France, and the first families of the monarchy have intermarried with those of the empire. The aristocracy of the lands has allied itself with the nobility of the cannon. Now I belong to the last named class, and certainly my prospects of military preferment are most encouraged as well as certain. My future, though small, is free and unfettered, and the memory of my late father is respected in our country, Valentine, as that is the most upright and honorable merchant of the city. I say our country, because you were not born far from Marseille.
Don't speak of Marseille, I beg of you, Maximilian. That one word brings back my mother to her recollection. My angel mother, who died too soon for myself and all who knew her, but who, after watching over her child during the brief period allotted to her in this world, now, I fondly hope, watches from her home in heaven. Oh, if my mother were still living, there would be nothing to fear, Maximilian, for I would tell her that I loved you, and she would protect us.
I fear, Valentine, that were she living, I should never have had the happiness of knowing you. You would have been too happy to have stooped from your grandeur to bestow a thought upon me.
Now it is you who is unjust, Maximilian. But there's one thing I wish to know.
And what is that?
Inquired the young man, perceiving that Valentine hesitated.
Tell me truly, Maximilian, whether in former days when our fathers dwelt at Marseilles, there was ever any misunderstanding between them.
Not that I am aware of, unless indeed any ill feeling might have arisen from being of opposite parties. Your father was, as you know, a zealous partisan of the Bourbons, while mine was wholly devoted to the Emperor. There could not possibly be any other difference between them. But why do you ask?
I will tell you, for it is but right that you should know. Well, on the day when your appointment as an officer of the Legion of Honor was announced in the papers, we were all sitting with my grandfather, Monsieur Notaire. Monsieur Danglars was also. You recall Monsieur Danglars, do you not, Maximilian? The banker whose horses ran away with my stepmother and little brother and very nearly killed them? While the rest of the company were discussing the approaching marriage of Mademoiselle Danglars, I was reading the paper to my grandfather. When I came to the paragraph about you, although I had done nothing else but read it over to myself all the morning, you had told me about the previous evening, I felt so happy and yet so nervous at the idea of speaking your name aloud, and before so many people, that I really think I should have passed it over, but for the fear that my doing might create suspicions as to the cause of my silence. So I summoned up all my courage and read it as firmly and as steadily as I could.
Dear Valentine.
Well, would you believe it? Directly my father caught the sound of your name, he turned round quite hastily, and, like a poor silly thing, I was so persuaded that everyone else must be as much affected as myself by the utterance of your name, that I was not surprised to see my father start and almost tremble. But even I thought that must surely have been a mistake, that Monsieur Danglars trembled too. Morrel, Morrel, cried my father, stop a bit. Then, knitting his brows into a deep frown, he added, surely this cannot be one of the Morrel family who lived at Marseilles, and gave us so much trouble from their violent Bonapartism. I mean about the year 1850. Yes, replied Monsieur Danglars. I believe he is the son of the old shipowner.
Indeed. And what did your father say then, Valentine?
Oh, such a dreadful thing that I don't dare to tell you.
Always tell me everything.
Ah, continued my father, still frowning. Their idolized emperor treated these madmen as they deserved. He called them food for cannon, which was precisely all they were good for. I am delighted to see that the present government has adopted this salutary principle with all its pristine vigor. If Algiers were good for nothing but to furnish the means of carrying so admirable an idea into practice, it would be an acquisition well worthy of struggling to obtain. But it certainly does cost France somewhat dear to assert her rights in that uncivilized country.
Brutal politics, I must confess, but don't attach any serious importance, dear, to what your father said. My father was not a bit behind yours in that sort of talk. Why, said he, does not the emperor, who has devised so many clever and efficient modes of improving the art of war, organize a regiment of lawyers, judges, and legal practitioners, sending them to in the hottest fire the enemy could maintain, and using them to save better men? You see, my dear, for that picturesque expression and generosity of spirit, there is not much to choose between the language of either party. But what did Monsieur Danglars say to this outburst on the part of the procureur?
Oh, he laughed in that singular manner so peculiar to himself, half malicious, half ferocious. He almost immediately got up and took his leave. Then, for the first time, I observed the agitation of my grandfather. I must tell you, Maximilian, that I am the only person capable of discerning emotion in his paralyzed frame. I suspected that the conversation that had been carried on in his presence, for they always say and do what they like before the dear old man, without the slightest regard for his feelings, had made a strong impression on his mind. Naturally enough, it must have pained him to hear the emperor he so devotedly loved and spoken spoken of in that depreciating manner.
The name of Monsieur Notaire is celebrated throughout Europe. He was a statesman of high standing, and you may or may not know Valentine, but he took a leading part in every Bonapartist conspiracy set on foot during the restoration of the Bourbons.
Oh, I've often heard whispers of things that seem to me most strange. The father a Bonapartist, the son a royalist. What can have been the reason of so singular a difference in parties and politics? But to resume my story, I turned toward my grandfather as though to question him as to the cause of his emotion. He looked expressively at the newspaper I'd been reading. "What is the matter, my dear grandfather?" said I. "Are you pleased?" He gave me a sign in the affirmative. "From what my father said just now?" He returned a sign in the negative. "Perhaps you liked what Mr. Danglars said?" Another sign in the negative. "Oh, then you were glad to hear that Monsieur Morrel, I didn't dare to say Maximilian, had been made an officer of the Legion of Honor?" He signified assent. "Only think of the poor old man's being so pleased to think of you, who were a perfect stranger to him, had been not made an officer in the Legion of Honor. Perhaps it was a mere whim on his part, for he's falling, as they say, into second childhood, but I love him for showing so much interest in you."
How singular. Your father hates me, while your grandfather, on the contrary. What strange feelings are aroused by politics?
cried Valentine suddenly.
"Someone is coming!"
Maximilian leaped at one bound into his crop of lucerne, while he began to pull up in the most ruthless way under the pretext of being occupied in weeding it.
Mademoiselle, mademoiselle!
Exclaimed a voice from behind the trees.
Madame is searching for you everywhere. There is a visitor in the drawing room.
"Visitor?
Inquired Valentine, much agitated.
Who is it?"
Some grand personage, a prince, I believe they said, the Count of Monte Cristo.
"Oh, come directly!"
Cried Valentine aloud. The name of Monte Cristo sent an electric shock through the young man on the other side of the iron gate, to whom Valentine's "I am coming" was the customary signal of farewell.
Now then,
Said
I would
Maximilian,
give a
leaning on the handle of his spade.
I would give a good deal to know how it comes about that the Count of Monte Cristo is acquainted with Monsieur de Villefort.
End of chapter. All right. So, I like these two. They're a good, interesting couple. Definitely devoted to each other. I love it. Those circumstances are pretty bad. What do you guys think of these two?
I think they're cute.
Dramatic.
Cute, dramatic. Okay.
Mhm.
Certainly, there's heaps more chemistry here than in the anime.
Yeah, star-crossed lovers.
Yeah. We do have star-crossed lovers, which is what I think the title refers to. I think it's like, oh golly, hold on. Oh gosh, it escapes. It's like in the back of like of my. I used to know like all sorts of stuff, but let me see. The title though has to do with basically a couple of a tragedy. Okay. So basically, it's the forbidden love, Pyramus and Thisbe, neighbors in Babylon, who are forbidden from marrying, and so it leads them to whisper through a crevice in their shared wall. So of course it's a tragedy and misunderstandings. Basically, I think somebody said star-crossed lovers, very similar to what are their names? Is Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. My brain's not working. I need help. So hopefully though, like these two receive a better end than either of these two characters. But yeah, okay, so let's talk about the Villefort family. What are some things that struck you as to like the relationships and how they get along and stuff like that?
This girl doesn't like her family, only her grandfather. Seems to be on the same page as her, which is pretty unfortunate that he can't really step up and protect her more because of his situation.
He seems to have good taste.
Yes, he does seem to have a good taste. So her grandfather is the old Bonapartist. Her father is, well, outwardly he's a loyalist, but her father is just in the side of whoever is winning. We know that for a fact about Villefort. And then there's the mother and the brother. What do you guys, how's her relationship with the mother and her brother?
Even the stepmother.
The way they described the mother, like being bad with a smile on her face, it reminded me a little bit of Lady Veronica from Bookworm, the toned down version.
Do not invoke the name of such a specter of horror.
I mean, she's even blonde in the anime, so it's perfect.
Blonde and green eyes, yeah.
Oh golly! I hope none of the people listening have blonde hair and green eyes. So just saying.
Literally me.
Veronica. Oh no!
Oh no!
It's like,
Oh, Yukihime, you are not Veronica. We swear you are not.
I know.
Really?
Don't worry.
All right. So we have the stepmother and her brother Edward, and there's a claim. There's a claim that Valentine says that she believes her stepmother loathes her. Why does she loathe her so much?
Isn't it because she's going to get the inheritance, Valentine is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's all about the money, and having, of course, a son of her own, he would inherit, well, whatever the father gives him. But we already know, kind of like the father, he has reached a great position, but you know, like there's a difference between the money that you make via politics, and then there's the money that generations and generations have accumulated before that it's due to you. So it's like old money, new money. That kind of jealousy is in there too. So Valentine is set to inherit quite a lot of money upon the death of her grandparents, the Marquise. And we don't even know about her grandfather from her father's side. I'm not sure how much there was, but we know that he was also like well renowned in Europe for being like kind of like a statesman or like involved with politics and stuff like that. So there might be something there too. All right, so we have this description of the house. It's like what am I reading? Like, is this? What kind of story am I reading about? Like a house and the street and a garden, and so I was pleased to know that what we were getting to. It's basically it is her hidden place where she can just kind of breathe and just be on her own and, you know, embroider or just be by herself, because in this house of hers, she's not happy. There's nobody she can rely on, nobody that really pays attention to her. Her father neglects her as well. That's a tragic shame.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
Yeah.
one person that does listen to her and does befriend her. Who is this person, and what do you think of their relationship?
Yeah, Maximilian is really down bad, but like, I don't really know how well it's gonna go with her whole fiance situation. But at the same time, the fiance in question doesn't even remember her name half the time. So he's too busy either fearing Monte Cristo for being a vampire or for being down bad for Albert. So he's busy. He doesn't remember Valentine. He's like, Valentine who? So you can add his fiance, to the list of people who don't really care about her.
Yeah,
Poor
that is
girl.
unfortunate. That is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Valentine doesn't seem very inclined to, you know, she's like kind of resigned to her fate. She's gonna marry. Like, she doesn't seem very inclined to fight against the marriage. She's just like, well, I'm gonna get married, so please, you know. she does tell Morrel, try to keep your distance, and we can only be friends. And he's like, okay, I have been very obedient. I have not tried to like steal a kiss from you or anything. I'm just your friend. But still, he's like, but still, I'm like, if you're going to be a friend, okay? Otherwise, you're just gonna cause the girl more pain. It's a difficult situation though. Like, it really is a sad and difficult situation though. Poor kids. I blame this all on their parents, who are all good for nothings. Ugh, they deserve the death sentence.
Valid.
Luckily though, the Count of Monte Cristo has arrived. We wonder what is going to happen. Remember that he had just a little while ago, in a couple chapters ago, he had a conversation with Villefort, and he was saying like, they were sparring about philosophy and good and evil and punishment and all that stuff. And there was Villefort invited him to visit his house so he could see his father and how he had ended up, So I wonder if he's there and we're gonna see them again, see Monsieur Nortier, or maybe we're gonna see him talking with somebody else. Who knows?
And out next time. Sorry.
Monsieur Nortier isn't really in a position to speak, so
Well,
you know who helps him to speak? His lovely granddaughter, who has a lot of problems.
Well, I know that Edmund is on a warpath, but he knows exactly what's going on. I'm sure he knows Valentine's circumstances, so here's hoping that he can make a friend of her. So I don't know. Maybe we're hoping for too much. All right, so that is going to be the chapter 52, Toxicology. I hope you join us for that next chapter on Friday. If you want...
And if you... Okay, you were starting.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not have a lot of hope. But I shouldn't have given you more credit. So, guys, if you do want to join us and actually read here and complain about whatever is up with in this whole tragedy, then come here on Discord by joining the other channel as a paying member, and then you have access to our read-alongs here.
That's right. I have placed on the chat the link to my channel, the Chatting Magpie. That is the official channel, in which you can join me at the very, very, very affordable, hopefully, price of $4.99 a month. It's like the price here. It's like a tall coffee, maybe. In that way, I can, bring more stuff to you and devote more time towards read-alongs and stuff, especially as we get closer and closer to a sense of a bookworm. I have lots of stuff planned ahead, you guys. Zen tier members, I have stuff planned for you too, especially as a sense of a bookworm gets closer and closer. So if you want to be part of this, all of the jollity, this jamboree of fun, then hop on over to our Discord server. We would love to have you.
Join us!
Heck yeah, join us. Alright, everybody. I hope that you guys have a wonderful, lovely, beautiful weekend. We will see you then on Sunday, if you are on Nerd's server for anime. And if not, on Friday, where we pick up for the next chapter. Thank you to all who read. Yay! Read Maximilian, Fuji read Valentine, and Yukihime read The Voice Behind the Trees. Thank you also to highlighting MVP Steel and Yukihime. And to the rest of you lovelies for joining us and for supporting us. Thank you, love you, and have a good one. Say bye-bye, gang.
Bye-bye, gang.
Bye, gang.
Au revoir.
Ciao.
Au revoir. Lovely weekend, everybody.